Yo, what's up, everybody? Let's go. Let's go. Make sure, can you hear me? Is audio good? What's up, Kraka? Andre's here, Bradbury's here, Jake's here, Peacock, Wim, Mike. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dahunzi, welcome. Got a lot of familiar faces. Patrick, Cello, what's up, what's up? Ross, Justin, Wolf, Sylvia, Jake, David. Man, all right. Good, good, good. Ruben, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go down. Okay, everybody says let's go, let's go. Audio is good. I'm going to listen, but plan to rewatch later. That's perfectly fine. All right, so what are we doing here? Automatic CSS 2.7 has now been released. It is available in your account. We are going to do a little bit of a walkthrough. We're going to take a look at the changelog. We're going to see how to implement some things. We're just going to play around. We're going to have some fun. What's up, Alicia? Fanner Donatas? Edward. Mateo is here. Antoine, Stratos, good to see you. Leo, good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We're gonna go right off the bat. Let's go to, here we go, automaticCSS.com. Let's get to the change logs. We have that pulled up. Okay, let's share screens here. We'll go over this together. Just gonna kind of go down the list. This is the last major release planned before the 3.0 rebuild. If you don't know, Automatic CSS is getting a complete, not the framework, but the dashboard interface, the user experience is getting a complete redesign and rebuild from the ground up. And that's what we're going to be working on in full. There's going to be a couple other minor releases probably, but nothing major like this release. This is a pretty big release. This required a lot of changes, a lot of refactoring, a lot of just work and of course testing, right? Dark mode it's kind of a beast of a feature, especially if you don't want to do some sort of nonsense like auto dark mode thing that doesn't give people a lot of granular control. So yeah, I'm glad it's done and out. And I will say this, the dark mode implementation that you see in 2.7, this is what I would call like the bare minimum dark mode functionality. So yeah, it's quite powerful and it's quite granular, but when the 3.0 rebuild is released, I have plans to just do a lot more with this and make it a lot easier and present it in a different way. There's some things that the current dashboard, there's a lot of limitations inherent in the way the current dashboard is structured, right? And right now we're having to work within those limitations. 3.0 is going to remove those limitations. So we're going to be able to do a lot more. So what you see here is, I guess the way I'll explain it is I didn't want to do a lot of extra work just knowing that it's all going to go in the trash for 3.0. Like, so it's like, let's just get it out there, make sure it's functional, make sure it's working, make sure people can do it. And then in 3.0, we'll really focus on the experience of creating a dark mode site very easily. But I am going to show you what it takes to switch a website to dark mode in like from scratch, more or less, in this live stream. And you're going to see it's pretty easy. It's actually, it's very easy. But it's going to get even better and even easier in 3.0. And it's just going to look better in 3.0. Okay. All right. Justin says dark mode is huge. I'm so excited to see this. Okay. No more magic areas. Yes, correct. There will be no more magic areas. Nicholas is excited for auto BIM. Me too. That is, dark mode's great. It's fun. It's cute. It's cute. Auto BIM is just phenomenal though. Truly, auto BIM is a game changer in more ways than one. And it's probably the feature that I'm most excited about. In fact, I was feeling a little dangerous, right? The bricks, the bricks frames source site, right? I'm constantly developing frames. And as you guys know, every frame has a BIM class. And so every element in every frame has a BIM class. Everything has a BIM class. And it gets very tiresome. It gets very tiresome writing the BIM classes, right? And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care if there's a little issue here or there. I'm installing the alpha on the bricks just so I could get auto BIM, just so I could have auto BIM. Now, thankfully, there was no other issues with it. But yeah, I was like, I can't take it anymore. Now that auto BIM is actually a thing, I'm installing the alpha just so I can have auto BIM, just to make my life easier when creating frames. All right, so let's get to it. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? I know that, if you have questions about specific features, wait until we're on that feature to ask it, I guess, would be the best way to organize this. But if you have any questions before we get started, let me know. Really looking forward to see the auto BIM feature. What technology is behind auto BIM? That's a question for Christoph, but it's built in Svelte. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I can't even think your approach to succeed auto BIM. This is amazing. Okay. Let's see. Any other? What's up, Kev? What's up, DJ? Any possibility of an ACSS frames bundle pricing? Probably not. Maybe when everything is relicensed and refactored, when everything's on the same licensing system, that might be it's not even really a physical possibility, right? I mean, we could, but it'd be a bunch of manual, like, all right, purchase this, then you'll get some sort of code and then go over here and enter the code and you get, I don't know, it'd be a little messy. Wait, what alpha are you talking about? The alpha before the 2.7 alpha. Well, a small select group of people got the alpha. But that's what I was talking about. Okay, let's look at feature number 1. So official support for Quickly. And by the way, these first three features, these were the primary goals of 2.7. The primary goals of 2.7 were Quickly support, color scheme, and auto BIM. Those were the three. Everything else is just a bonus. But those were the three main goals for this release. So official support for Quickly, I'm gonna do a dedicated Quickly video. And it's like, let's build a homepage in Quickly and let's see what the workflow looks like and all of that jazz. So we're not gonna do a lot in Quickly on this live stream. I don't even know how many Quickly users are even at this live stream. It's probably the bare minimum, it's the minority. So we're gonna focus on all the other stuff in this live stream. I would, if you are a Quickly user, highly encourage you to install 2.7 and start working with it in Quickly, okay? I did as much as I possibly could. I can't look at every single component in every single use case imaginable. So if you run into anything, one of the things when I say we officially support a builder that you need to know is when you start using automatic CSS with that builder and you run into an issue, it gets moved to the top of the queue, like for immediate fix, right? So if you run into an issue in Quickly, submit it, it will move to the top for immediate fix. If you use automatic CSS in a builder that's not officially supported and you're like, hey, this doesn't work, I'll be like, so sorry, champ. I don't know what to tell you. We don't support that builder. But if we've said we officially support a builder, then your issues that you find move to the top of the list. So what we need is for more Quickly users to start building with automatic CSS, and then anything that you run into that might be an issue, submit it and we'll get it taken care of ASAP. Okay, Tahor says, I just built my first sites on Quickly. I will try 2.7 today. Excellent. Okay, let's move on. So color scheme, dark mode, let's open this up. So technically, with the way that we've set things up, you can do obviously dark mode, light mode, okay? Everybody calls color scheme dark mode, but it's really not, right? In 2023, there's plenty of dark websites. There's actually been dark websites for a very long time. Dark website is, if the dark website is the main theme of the website, then what you really need is a light mode, not a dark mode, right? You need to be able to switch over into a light mode. In CSS, there's nothing called dark mode and there's nothing called light mode. There's called prefers color scheme. And so there's a primary scheme of the website, or you can design a light theme, light scheme and a dark scheme, or you can just have a main scheme and then switch over to either the light or the dark scheme, however you want to play it. But that's kind of why we call this color scheme instead of dark mode. So it's called color scheme. And we have support for prefers color scheme, which we're going to look at in just a second. You have granular control over which colors have an alternate theme. So the way that we've built it is your website has a primary, or what we call a main scheme. And that could be light, it could be dark, it's whatever you want. Then you have an alt scheme. And again, the alt scheme is just the opposite typically of your main scheme. Of course, it doesn't have to be. You could have a pink scheme and a green scheme if you wanted to. And then if you wanted to do that, you could actually turn off. You would not want prefers color scheme on at that point. And just to let you know, for those of you who might be a little bit confused, right? Like, whoa, what's prefers color scheme? In your operating system, I'll show you right here. In everybody's operating system, Mac, Windows, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go to general. You're gonna see this appearance, okay? This is not in the browser. This is operating system level. You tell your operating system, hey, I like a light scheme. Or hey, I like a dark scheme. Look at all my panels, just changed to dark, right? Or in Mac, I don't know if this is true for PC, you can just have auto, which is like when it's daytime, it'll be light, and when it's nighttime, it'll be dark, and it just switches it for you. That's typically what I have mine on. I put mine on auto, okay? But if I put dark, for example, the operating system will now communicate to my browsers, and my browser will set this setting called prefers color scheme. And if somebody's building a website, they can access that information. They can say, what is the preferred color scheme of this user? And let's serve them colors that align with the color scheme that they prefer. Again, this is a lot of people go look for this in the browser. It's not in the browser, it's in your operating system, okay? So it's gonna follow your operating system preferences. So if I design a light schemed website, like I build the site, it's primarily light, and you're gonna see in our example in a minute, some people ask, they're like, well, my sites are a mix of light and dark. So I just say, what is it primarily? More of your sections are which one, light or dark, okay? Then you say, hey, it's primarily a light scheme. Then our alt scheme is going to be for people who prefer a dark scheme website, and vice versa. Okay, so that's how that works. So I'm gonna put this on light for right now. We're gonna go back to the way that we were. All right, so if you're building your website, designing your website, you don't wanna say all my colors need to change. Only certain colors may need to change, and only certain shades of certain colors may need to change. We don't really know. It really depends on your design. And so that's why you have full granular control over all alt colors, alt shades, the hue, the saturation, the lightness. You'll see everything can be dialed in to get the exact look that you want to achieve in your alt scheme. We also have a way for you to protect against scheme changes, all right? In instances where you actually don't want the scheme to switch on that page. And that's for individual sections, individual elements, whatever. We tried to give as much granular control here as possible, and protections and things like that as well. Okay, oh, by the way, what I was saying about prefers color scheme, you can choose whether you want to respect prefers color scheme or ignore prefers color scheme. If you don't use prefers color scheme, you're gonna have to use a toggle switch on the front end so the user can actually manually toggle between main scheme and alt scheme. And we'll take a look at that as well. We have a backend preview toggle for all supported builders. All right, so let's go into the builder. Oh, by the way, here's an example page that we're gonna take a look at. Now, let me tell you something about this page, very interesting. Let me get my chat back up here on the screen so we can see what's going on. Okay. So I literally right before this live stream, like 30 minutes before this stream started, I was like, oh, I don't know if we just want to show like a small, tiny example. Maybe we should just put a page together, and then we'll take a look at how to swap that over to dark mode, right? This was like 30 minutes ago. So I was like, oh, that's a problem, because it's hard to build like a whole, design as well, a whole page in that amount of time. And so I was like, all right, I got on a chat GPT and I was like, chat GPT, I was like, we're gonna build a landing page for a 10-day Hawaii getaway. I was like, I need copy for this section, this section, this section, this section. I need a color scheme, okay? And I need a font selection. And literally everything, I didn't even care. Everything that you see here was determined by ChatGPT, except the photos. I just went on Unsplash and got some Hawaii photos and stuck them in the right places. Okay, so this was done in like 20 minutes. All right, so don't judge me. All right, this was like 20 right before the live stream started, like 20 minutes. So I just used frames to whip this up. So put the copy in, put the photos in, threw in the color palette that ChatGPT selected. Right, you guys know I'm not a designer, right? And so here we are. Here's our little simple 20-minute Hawaii getaway landing page. And what we're gonna do is take a look at how would we add dark mode or color scheme support to this page right here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the builder first. Okay, we're gonna go into the builder. And one thing you're gonna see right up here is this alternate color mode switch. Okay, so along with color scheme, we had to build like different components and things like this. This is one of them. So this will be in any builder that's supported. If you go into Oxygen, you'll see it. If you go into Quickly, you'll see it there. It's in Bricks. And it might be in a different place. Like I think in Quickly, it's like in the middle up here. It depends on, how the interface looks in the builder itself. But you're gonna be looking for this switch right here. And then we're gonna go into the back end over here. And we're gonna go take a look at our new options, okay? So we have our palette area. That's the area you're gonna wanna go to for all of this. And you're gonna see first off this new box at the top. This new color scheme box is brand new. Website color scheme, it's asking you, is your website primarily a light scheme or primarily a dark scheme? You have to let us know, all right? Now, if we look at this website, let's go back to the front end. We see this is a dark section right off the bat, right? Now we're gonna scroll down, but I see a light section here. Then I see another light section. Then I see another light section. And then I finally see another dark section. So, and this, by the way, if we look at, our background color. So let me go back into ACSS dashboard here. So under viewport, under body, we see website background color. What is the background color here? All right, Jim is messaging me about my fantasy football team. Let's go ahead and focus. Let's see. Do not disturb me. Thank you. Oh, we need until this evening. All right. I just whooped Jim's ass in fantasy football, and he's apparently surprised by that. Okay, so let's continue. All right, so look, var base ultra light. What does that kind of tell? I'm literally saying my website background color is an ultra light color. So that clearly kind of means my website color scheme is a light scheme. And then the next thing I have is the prefers color scheme switch, right? So I get to choose, do I want to respect the user's preferences automatically or not? It doesn't mean we're not respecting the user's preferences. It just means we're not doing it automatically. I personally would turn this on. We have it off by default. I would personally turn it on because it's good. The user won't have to look for a toggle. In fact, you don't even have to provide a toggle now if you don't want to. If you don't provide a toggle, they'll still see their preferred color mode, right? No toggle necessary. So I'm just gonna hit save changes. So I've made one change, that's it. Now, nothing else is gonna happen. No additional code has been added, nothing magical has happened. And the reason is because I haven't defined any alternate colors. Every color here is still exactly the way that it would be by default. But what you see now is an activate alternate color switch on every color. And again, this is where we run into dashboard limitations. Nobody has to tell me, here, let me turn on my mouse. Where's my mouse? Turn on, okay. All right. Can I draw? Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think we can draw like this. I get, all right, that this situation right here with toggles and hexes and toggles, and this is not ideal. It's not, I would not say that this is fantastic UI, right? Again, when we built the original dashboard, it was much simpler, much simpler. It was a different day and age, you could say. So now that more features are getting packed in and the user's able to do more things, this is another reason why, not just, of course, we want to revamp the entire experience, but we also want to eliminate situations like this, right? We want cleaner, less clutter, less everything going on here. Okay, so Let's start by saying, does my action color need to change? Don't even know. Probably not. Maybe it does. We'll see in a minute, right? We can kind of go piece by piece as we do this. I do know that my base color is going to need to change and my neutrals are going to need to change. Okay, so I'm going to flip on the activate alternate base color and I'm going to flip on the activate alternate neutral color. And one thing that I want to explain about auto dark mode, for example, the neutral palette by the way, is a new palette. All right, it replaces the shade palette because that name sucked and this name is much better. The new neutral palette, just like shade, covers your blacks and your whites. It's all your blacks, your black transparencies, your white transparencies, and everything in between. White and black will not flip, right? Just because I set a color scheme up here and say use prefers color scheme, again, nothing happens. If you turn on alt neutral, all your blacks and whites will automatically flip. And you see the shades here are automatically flipped. So the ultra light is looking a bit dark, right? That's how you know they automatically flipped. The neutral palette more or less takes care of itself, okay? Every other color palette requires manual input from you, the user. And the reason is we could have done this auto out of the box. But there are situations, and we talk to many users who use color scheme often, and they say, look, sometimes we don't want we don't want the shades to reverse their values. We want to change the color altogether. We just want to use a different color. Or we want to manually input values for shades. We want to really dial it in. So it's open-ended. It's kind of, that's what you do here. So notice that here's my base color for this website, which is different from the default base color in ACSS. So if I want this color to be the same, but I just want to change shade values, all I'm going to do is duplicate it to down there. Now my alt color and my base color are exactly the same, but now I'm free to start manipulating the shades and getting them to behave exactly how I want. Now, these are easy to inverse on your own. What's the inverse of 95? It's 5. Like, it's just how far away is it from 0 or 100? I can do 85 to 15, but I think I'm going to go actually a little bit darker. And you can see, again, what's happening over here in the little swatch, how ultralight and light are now very dark. And then for the dark, I need these to go light. So I'm going to go with like 75 for this. We'll see if that's a good option. And we'll see if 90 is a good option for this. And then I'll just go ahead and hit save. So I have defined an alternate base palette and an alternate neutral palette. All right. We're going to go back. We're going to refresh this. Leo says shade is still in the classes, but don't work anymore. No, it works. You got to make sure. Well, it's on by default, but yeah, it should work. Could we let our websites with the default color scheme, or do we have to select one for every one of them? Could we let our websites with, I think you've got some missing letters or some missing words in there, Patrick. Try to ask that question again and I will check it out. Does the color change also change the color inside the SVG code, changing logo font from black to white in SVG? Good question. Nothing here, very important for everybody to understand. Nothing will change unless it's defined with a variable, okay? So if you have your logo SVG and the fill color is var white and var black, it's gonna change. If you put $FFF, you put like a raw value in there, ACSS doesn't just magically go find raw values and decide what to change them to. Everything is based on variables. So if you're using color variables for everything, everything is gonna switch the way that you want it to. If you just randomly stick raw values into places, then it's not gonna switch. So it's important to stick with variable use, okay? Ruben says we need more likes on this stream. Absolutely. Okay, so if you notice here, I just flipped the switch in the builder, right? I'll flip it again. So now that we've defined the alternate base, I can flip this switch and you're gonna see the alternate scheme here. Now, how did it magically know not to mess with my hero section, which was already dark? Because remember, I flipped dark values to light values, but down here, it remained as it was. It was like left alone. And this hero up here was left alone. So the dark sections didn't become light, right? Everything didn't inverse on its own, which would obviously destroy the effect that we're going for. And it's very, very simple, okay? I'm gonna remove a class. This is what would have happened, right? And in a typical dark mode, right, this is what would have happened because you told the values to inverse. And so, yeah, the light one's inverse to dark, but the dark one's inverse to light, and that's a problem. All you have to do, and you can do this at the main section level, you can do it on any container, you can do it on any individual element. You can come in here and just say color scheme and say main, right? I don't want to switch to the alt. I want to keep this section. Everything in this section must stay with the main scheme. And I add that class and it keeps it protected. It keeps it with the main scheme. You will not see any alt scheme adjustments here. Okay, so you look down here at CTA Bravo, it's got that class, color scheme main. So that's letting everybody know, hey, this section needs to be left alone when color scheme changes happen, right? Okay, so perfect. So now I'm gonna go to the front end. Now on the front end, we still see exactly the site that we started with. And you guys can see, right? It was pretty easy to flip those values. And let me show you one more thing. See how these are like, they've got that blue color kind of shining through. You know, I don't really like that. I want it to be more on the whiter side of things, okay? So I'm gonna go back into automatic CSS. I'm gonna go to palette. I'm gonna come down to my base and I'm gonna open my alt shades, okay? And it looks to me like this was, if we look, okay? I'll just show everybody so you can check. Oh, this is actually the default. So this is from our typography and our heading colors. So those headings all use the base dark value. So I'm gonna go into palette, and I'm gonna go to base, and I'm gonna find my alt base shades, and I'm gonna go down to dark, and we see, look how it's like slightly, it's got a lot of the blue shining through. Well, for this one particular shade, I can make a decision here. I can say, I wanna make it lighter, so let's go like 85. I also, for that one particular shade, might just say, hey, let's knock down that saturation just a little bit so that there's less of that blue color coming in. All right, so I hit okay, and then I refresh. We'll go ahead and refresh in the builder. Save, refresh. And then let's take a look at all that text. All right, let's flip the switch. And now it's a much whiter text, right? It's lighter, it has less blue in it, and I like that effect more. So see, I'm able to identify an aspect of the alternate scheme and be like, I wanna adjust that a little bit. You just go in, adjust a little saturation, adjust a little lightness. Maybe you can even tweak the hue a little bit if you want to. It's really up to you. You have full control over all of that. All right, question. I use variables to create custom box shadow in ACSS settings. Will that change as well when changed to dark mode? Let's go take a look at that real quick. So option, no, it's additional styling, right? Let's go to box shadows here. Okay, so if you go like a little Brum AF action or something like this, and you just grab one of these super fancy box shadows that a lot of people like to do, and you pop it in here as the new box shadow value. We gotta get all this junk out of here. Okay, see all these? Those will not convert. Right? Those are raw color values. Automatic CSS can't do anything with these. Wouldn't know what to do with them because automatic CSS waits for your instruction. Like, hey, tell me what to do, dog, and I'll do it. But it doesn't know what to do with this. However, this is very, very easy to swap out. So you take that RGBA string and you just replace it with a var, and you can do base, ultra, dark, trans 5 or something like this. And you can just start layering these. We can go here. That's like a 28, so you could just say, all right, that's gonna be a 30. That you can kind of like round up, right? You can do like a 40 here. All right, now that I'm replacing those with variables, yes, they'll switch. However, think about a box shadow. Do you really want the box shadow to invert? Probably not. Like light scheme, dark scheme, a shadow is a shadow. There's no light shadows in real life. There's no like, oh my God, look at that white shadow as I'm going down the street. Shadows are dark. That's what they are. So you really don't have to worry about it in that regard because it doesn't really need to switch in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's get out of there. All right, so let's do a little test. I'm gonna refresh this. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to open my system preferences and we'll go to general and I'm just gonna say, hey, I prefer dark schemes. Okay, and then I refresh the website and look what I'm served with. No toggle on the front end, no nothing, no drama, no, it's just, there it is. There it is. It's just the browser accessed my operating system preferences and was like, hey, this guy prefers a dark scheme. Is there a dark scheme defined? Oh, look, there is. And let's go ahead and serve it to them. It's as easy as that. I mean, we're done, right? And this is going to apply to the entire website. Now, we're going to take a look at the toggle in just a minute. Let me go here because I do want to explain one thing. Let me go back to light. Hey, I prefer light, okay? Notice that it has not changed. Why? Because when the page loaded, it looked for my preferences, okay? It doesn't magically look for your preferences at all times. When the visitor visits the website, that's when it's going to identify their preference. So I refresh and I'm presented with the main scheme, the light scheme. A lot of people will try to test. They'll come in and they'll go to inspect because they know you can do this in the inspector, and they're gonna go here and they're gonna go to prefers color scheme dark, and nothing is gonna happen. This is noted in the changelog that the technique that we implemented does not work with simulators. It only works with actual preferences. And the reason is because we check the preference on page load. The page is already loaded. A simulator doesn't reload the page, okay? I guess that's the best explanation, okay? The reason that we did this is to lighten the load on the actual CSS that's required to pull off the color scheme implementation in this fashion. If we just wanted to use @prefers color scheme and we didn't want to use toggle switches and local storage and all this other stuff, then we would have made it compatible with simulators, and because it only would have required redefining the CSS once. When you have to use switches and the ability to turn on off various sections and local storage and on and on and on and on and on, it starts to require multiple scenarios in the CSS, which requires more or less duplicating color variables over and over and over again. And from just a performance and organization perspective, we were like, simulators aren't that important. Like you can simulate it in the browser with our toggle switch. And you can simulate it on the front end with a toggle switch. So compatibility with like a browser simulator wasn't really high on the list. We preferred to make it more performant than to worry about that. So that's a little explanation on that side of things. Question, is dark light modes active by default and loads all corresponding CSS, or is it an on-off option you can deactivate in pro mode? So like I said, I'll explain it one more time. You come back to the palette area of automatic CSS. If you don't activate any alternate colors, see, I just turned off the alternate colors and I hit save, automatic CSS is just like every other version of automatic CSS. Nothing related to color scheme is doing anything, regardless of what is up here. Okay, you could say, hey, yeah, I want to use prefers color scheme. Automatic CSS on the back end is gonna be like, but you didn't define any alternate colors, so there's nothing we can do with this. And so it's not gonna do anything. But the minute you come down and activate an alternate color, then you're going to get the CSS for that alternate color. Only that alternate color, not every other color, only that alternate color, okay? So yeah, that's important to understand. There's no color scheme on-off switch. It's whether or not you've activated alternate colors or not. Those are the switches. And then of course there's support for contextual colors as well. So let me turn those on, activate alternate contextual colors, and then you have alt hex and alt shades for every contextual color. Okay, let's turn that off. And let's hit save. All right, so hopefully that answers your question. Can we disable the auto color switch on certain screen size or device? E.g., I want the mobile to always load the light version. No. And I don't even know, prefers color scheme is a media query. I don't know if you can put a media query in a media query. I don't think I've ever tried that. I don't think I've ever wanted or needed to do it. I could look at it, but I don't even know if that's physically possible. Question, how does the browser know if our default main scheme is dark or light? Is that what the website's color scheme? Yes, that's what is declared right here. So there's logic that if you say, hey, it's a light scheme and the user prefers dark, we're gonna serve them the alt scheme, right? If you say, hey, it's dark and the user prefers dark, we're gonna serve them the main scheme because that's the default thing. We're going to serve them your default scheme because it's already dark. If they say prefers light and your base is dark, then we're going to serve them the alt scheme because the alt scheme is going to be light. All right. New color scheme is awesome. Thank you. You are welcome. You are welcome. Okay, let's take a look at how much easier can you guys make this? This looks great and relatively simple. Here's how it could get easier. So activate alternate scheme, there'll be a little switch and it'll say like automatically invert shades. And so bam, I can, if it is a situation, again, not all situations that call for this, like watch, see this blue color right here? And here's this, maybe I just want to switch colors altogether, okay? So I'm gonna go here and let's go, we gotta go back in the builder for this right now because we don't have a front end switch. So let's watch this CTA down, or right here, here you go. So there's my colors. Remember, this is protected right here. This is protected. So I hit this switch, look, it's just swapping colors. So in that case, I didn't want to do anything with the shades. I just wanted to switch the color. And then I want to be able to use the shades the same way I've always used them. That situation exists, right? So we couldn't automatically invert all the shades anytime you turn it, because that would be annoying to a certain percentage of users. So we left it manual. But what would be great is a toggle where if I do want alternate shades, because right now what I have to do is come in and say, all right, opposite of 95 is 5, 85 is 15, opposite of 25 is 75, opposite of 10 is 90, hit save. Now I'm done. Now, is that like painful? No. Did it take forever? No. It's still fast, but it would be better. I mean, I think we could all argue, it would be better if there was a little switch where I was like, invert color shades, and it just did it, right? That would be better. So it's things like that. It's little helper add-ons, I guess, to this feature. Okay, let's not save that. Let's refresh. Okay, question. I'm getting an error every time I save on 2.7, undefined variable header height XXL. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Notice I have 2.7.01. Yeah, there was a slight little, I don't know, little typo, oversight, something on, and it's related to one of the new features for header height, which we'll look at in just a second. Okay, I'm gonna move on from color scheme. Is there any other, do we need to look at the front end toggle, how to do that? Let's explain this, okay? So I'm gonna go to bricks templates, okay? And I'm gonna add new, and let's just add a header real quick. Okay, so let's select header, let's publish it, let's edit. Okay, let's just add, actually, let's just use a frame because that's probably easier. All right, so let's go header and let's do something super simple like header alpha. Okay, perfect. Yeah, there's no nav menu on this site. Let's just get rid of that. There's our logo. Here's a good example. So if you're in your logo right here, and then there's gonna be a fill somewhere. Let's see, where is it in bricks? I hate this. I have not used this logo element in forever. I use an SVG element, style, HTML tag, sources, kind of fill. Is this why I don't use it? Okay, let's go get rid of that. Let's go SVG. Okay, let's do this. Branding, placeholders. Oh, great. I don't even have a logo file. Okay, logo ipsum, and whatever. This one will work. Download. Thank you. Okay, let's go back. Header template, get it in there. Download logo ipsum. Great. Hopefully this is compatible with having a fill. Okay, let's see. Yes, it is. Okay, so really all I need to, I just go into ACSS and choose my color. So this could be like the base color. And because the base color swaps, then we should see that flipping on the front end as well. So how do we add a front end toggle? There's a few different ways, and this is where I'm actually gonna go over to automaticcss.com/docs. And obviously, we've published documentation on this already. So I'm just gonna look up color scheme. Highly recommend you guys go read some of the documentation on color scheme and some of the other new features. But we're gonna come down, it's got how to activate color scheme, the write-up on prefers color scheme. It's like very detailed documentation. I'm gonna come down, and it's gonna talk about seeing your alternate color scheme on the front end, okay? And there's 4 different little options here for a front end toggle. you can use our manual scheme switch for Bricks Builder. If you click this link, it's gonna download a little file that you can import. It's a frame, basically. This already exists in frames. It's a little frame. It's free though. You don't have to have frames, it's free. You can just download it, import it as a template, and you're off to the races. I'll show it to you in just a second. Or you can use the ACSS Color Scheme API to create your own builder component if you want to. We got instructions on that coming soon. We are creating a component for frames users called a color scheme switch. You will be able to just be able to drop that onto your page and do whatever you want to customize it. You can create your own switch however you'd like, or you can click on this link right here, which will take you to a code pin that I created, and you can just steal the HTML, steal the CSS, steal the JS, drop it into a code block in Oxygen, Bricks, Quickly, wherever you want. This will work pretty much in any builder that has a code block, and you're off to the races there. Okay, so many options available to you. I'm gonna show you the frames option that is the frames frame, not the component version. The component version, I think it will be maybe a week from now, hopefully, maybe less. It'll be available, but this is the frames version. So I will do color, or it's called scheme switch alpha. Okay, we'll insert that, and I'm gonna drag that into my inner up here, and then I'm going to activate this code block. So execute code. And you can see right here, I have a little dark mode and a little light mode switch, okay? And if I refresh the page, you see that I have my switch up here. And all I have to do is check it how it's configured, right? So I come in here and there's gonna be instructions and more write-up on all this stuff. But more or less, it's gonna use Brix's default interactions, okay? So if I go scheme switch alpha and I click on the interaction, it shows you what's happening when the content is loaded. If I click on this individual button, the one thing I hate about this, see, I have the class active and I look at interactions, which the interactions panel takes over. If anybody from Bricks is watching, I just like to show little things here and there, you know, they might want to improve. The interactions panel takes over my whole sidebar. So when I go to another element like button main, which also has interactions, okay, I click on that, I cannot see any interactions. Why? Because the class isn't activated. So I've got to close the interactions panel, click on this, and I think it's on this main class. See how it lights up? See, this class has no interactions. This class has interactions. Now I gotta reopen the interactions panel. Now I can see all of the interactions, okay? And so I'm gonna put the instructions in on how to use all of this and get it set up. It's fairly simple. I'll also show you the color or the code block implementation. So let's go back to changelog here. No, where was it? It was, did I close the docs? Okay. Let's go back to automaticcss.com, docs, color, scheme, dark mode. Okay. Scroll down, use this switch from CodePen library. So more or less, you would take your button code right here. Let's close this. Let's close that. We don't need Brum. We don't need logo Ipsum. Okay, move this over. All right, we're gonna go here. We're gonna insert our code block. Bam, just like this. And this will probably be a little bit different in Bricks than Oxygen. I did this in Oxygen the other day. Let's execute the code block. Okay, so we've got our button. Then you're gonna do the same thing with your CSS. You go to the Style tab. You would grab the CSS, drop that in. You create another code block. In Oxygen, you can do this all in one code block. In Bricks, you need two different code blocks. Take this JS, put it in the code block right below that switch, and then everything will start working at that point, okay? So that's another option. What I would recommend, frames users, you're gonna have this component you can just drop in, like you add it from right here where all the other frame stuff is. So I don't think I have anything active on this site, but where your modal is, where your accordion is, where your carousel is, there's gonna be a little color scheme switch in there. You just drag it onto the page, configure it up, bam, you're off to the races, okay? That gives you that front end toggle. All right, let me pull up chat. If you have a question about color scheme, you need to ask it now because we're about to move on. I'm waiting for the table frame. That one looks great, simple but gorgeous. Table frame will be out, what's today? Tomorrow. Table frame will be out tomorrow. Antoine says, Bricks definitely needs some UI improvements for these panels. They're so important, but they're annoying to work with. Yes, I think so. I agree. Do the new alt colors affect forms too? I use ACSS with Fluent Forms. I did notice the choose file button on form light is a shade light color rather than accent to a bug. Well, you should be able to customize all, you can go in and customize all of the colors and forms. Okay, so if we go to form styling, so here's your form light styles, your form dark styles. So you go in and see all of this is gonna default to shades. Why does all these colors default to using the shade palette? They will start defaulting to neutral. We didn't want, we gotta give people a little bit of time, but shade is the color that could not be turned off, right? It was like it was a forced color in automatic CSS. You can't turn it off. So and we do that because we need to use them for defaults, right? And we don't want people to be like, there's no color anywhere. I can't see what's going on. So the shade palette is on by default. So we use shade for everything. Then you just go in and customize your form colors. And it's the same scenario, right? You're allowed to write the word red here. You're allowed to put in some, random hex value. That will all work. But if you do that, it won't have color scheme support because color scheme support all runs through variables. So if you do anything with a variable here, you're good to go. So let's say you wanted that to be base dark, right? Okay, now it's gonna flip. Now you're good, right? So use your variables in all color situations and you're gonna be just fine. All right, let's refresh and not save that. Okay, hopefully that answered that question. Can you review the process of using ACSS with frames and bricks? Yes, we're about to take a look at auto BIM here. Okay, why didn't the alt colors use the alt hex code on the action color when you enabled it? It still used the red. Palette. Not sure what you're talking about. There's the red right there. There's the blue. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking. Let's see. James, your question did not come through. It just says does. So write your, oh, you asked it again. Okay. I answered it. Good. What happens with my shade colors from my previous version if I use neutral now? Okay, good. Let's explain that real quick. So notice shade is nowhere to be found in the palette area. If you go over to the deprecated tab, you're going to see deprecated color shade. Alt color scheme support is still active for the shade color. Okay, we added it even though we deprecated the palette. We still added support for color scheme because we know a lot of people still have to use it from old sites, right? So you can do everything you want with shade still. It's on by default. We're never gonna like delete a color and then it's just like people upgrade and it's gone from their sites. Like that's never gonna happen. We put it in the deprecated tab, but it's behind a toggle. The toggle is on by default. So if you've used shade before in the past, it's still gonna work. And you can still have you can define an alternate color for it if you want. It's gonna flip automatically just like neutral does, okay? That's the base explanation on that. For new projects going forward, let's talk about this deprecated tab. Or my blueprint, right? Most of you by now, I think, have a blueprint for deploying new projects. With a change like this, you go into your blueprint and you turn off shade. And I would turn off everything that's deprecated, okay? So everything that's deprecated gets turned off, hit save, and now all new projects going forward don't use any deprecated features from automatic CSS. Meanwhile, your old projects, these toggles were on by default and they stay on and you're good to go. And nothing will break, nothing will change, and you just leave them this way. Just leave it alone. You don't have to go back and refactor everything or redesign. No, just leave it alone. Leave it alone, let it do its thing. But on all new projects going forward, off, save. And I don't use deprecated features moving into the future, okay? That's kind of the best way to handle that. Okay, does var white and black also alternate? Only if you toggle the neutral palette on, okay? So if you leave the neutral palette off, because neutral is your blacks and whites and grays, okay? So because some people don't want the black and whites to change. They're doing something else with the color scheme. They don't want their black and whites to change. So if you don't activate alternate neutral color, it will not change. The minute you hit this, blacks and whites just flipped, okay? So hopefully that explains that. All right, we got to move on because we can't spend the entire time on color scheme. All right, so now let's go back to the changelog. Let's take a look at the next thing. And hopefully you guys saw color scheme main, color scheme alt. By the way, you can use, sorry, just one last thing. You can use color scheme alt to just look at like preview things almost, okay? Color scheme _ alt, good. Let's come in and let's go palette, base. I turned it off, let's save, okay? I think that uses base. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay. Color scheme alt. Let me put some content in here. Let's go. Actually, this section does not have a color. It's seeing through to the background. Hey, class panel, go away, please. All right, background. Let's go with base like this. Okay, that's my base color. Color scheme alt. See how I can just like an individual, and even like this whole group, anything in here will inherit this. But I can just see like, hey, what's the alt scheme look like on this particular section right here? And then I remove that class, it goes back to the main scheme. So you can use that instead of toggling back and forth in the builder all the time. If you want to just see what happens to like one group of elements or one section or even a single element, like if I added a button, you should be able to do it to this single element. So I go button action. Did I turn my action color back on? Let me go back. Let's see, 2.7 action, alt action is on. Okay, so there's my normal action color here. And then I say color scheme alt, and look at that. I see immediately it turns into the other color. And this also gives you a way to, if you protected like an entire section, right? Like that dark section you saw earlier. Like I don't want anything in here to change. But then you're like, oh, but I do want that one little button to change right there. We'll just go to that button. Like the whole section has color scheme main. Go to the button and say color scheme alt. And that one little thing will actually change. Yeah, so you're good. All right, we got it. Like I said, we got to get out of color scheme talk here. Let's move on. So the next thing that we're going to look at is auto BIM. My favorite feature. And will probably be the favorite feature of frames users as well. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Let's keep that. Okay. So I'm going to add a section. I'm going to show you the base level functionality of this, and then there's more hidden behind the scenes for you to see. Okay, so let's go with something like a grid 3. Okay, it's a little 3-column grid here. And let's add a block and another block. Okay, clearly I did not add the grid, did not click the button. Okay, come on now. All right, let's do this. Bricks is being a pain in the ass. Let's go grid gap. Okay, so I'm gonna create, let's just say a service card. So just a generic little service card. Or I could even go back to the home page and we'll mimic this card right here. Like these little, hey, hidden waterfalls. So basically we've got an image, a heading, and text, but the image is in a media wrapper. So it's a media wrapper, media. We've got a body wrapper with a heading and text. And we'll just create a nice little simple feature card, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna do, I've got my main card here. I'm gonna add 2 blocks, block. That's gonna be my media wrapper right there. That's gonna be my body wrapper. I'm not doing anything. I'm not adding classes yet. I'm not doing anything. I'm just kind of walking you through what the structure is. Inside this media wrapper, I'm gonna toss in media, okay? We can just throw in an image here. Let's go back to Hawaii. Let's grab one of these, all right? So there's our media right there. Ignore the fact that it's a tall image and not a wide image. We can handle that in just a second. And our body wrapper down here, we're gonna go with heading and we're gonna go with text, all right? Perfect. So I've got my heading, I've got my text, I've got my media, I've got my media wrapper. Everything in here is an absolute mess. Block, image, block, heading, basic tech. Those are not the names that I want. But in any case, I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna take a look at what our options are, okay? So this, my friends, is my card. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this little button that says BIM. Can I zoom in on this? How do I zoom in? I forgot my shortcut. There we go. There's my shortcut. So that, you see that, right? It's very subtle. It's very subtle, right? I'm gonna go ahead and click, oh, you know what? I think it's this. Is it this magic mouse? Turn off Pro Magic Mouse. Is that what's killing me? No. Let me go back to the header. Is it the JavaScript that I added? Let me go back. Let's trash this. Something's conflicting with all of my JavaScript on this. Let's go refresh. Oh, there you go. Invalid post type. Let's go back to pages, pages, playground. Okay, was I in the header doing all that for real? Jeez Louise. Okay, awesome live stream. All right, let's go here. Yes, okay, thank you. All right, don't know why we were doing all of that in the header. Does this work now? Yes, it does. All right, block, block, block. All right, we got our 3. So here's my card right here. Let's go do that again. So we're gonna go block, block. Then in this block, we're gonna go with an image. All right, we're gonna grab any image, insert. Okay, down here, we're gonna go with heading. We're gonna go with text. Awesome, okay. Now let's try again. All right, so I've got my 3 cells for my grid. This is my card. We're gonna BIM this. Let's take a look at this panel all together for a second. You could do this however you want to. You can name one of the items before you click BIM. You can name all the items in the structure panel before you click BIM. You can name none of the items in the structure panel before you click BIM. It's literally up to you, whatever your workflow prefers, whatever you like best, okay? So the block is gonna be up here. That's your main element in BIM, block elements, modifiers, okay? So here's your main block. I said we were making a service card. So I'm gonna just write service card. Notice it's changing the label here. Notice it's adding the core block to the class. And then you've got all your elements down here. Now, if you named everything in the structure panel, it would pull all those names in. I didn't name everything in the structure panel. It's got the default name, so it brought in the default names. But now I'm free to do everything that I just name everything what it is. So this is the media wrapper. This is the media, this was the body wrapper, this was the heading, which is fine, I'm just gonna leave that alone. And then I don't like text basic, I like it to just say text, or you could even say description. And now I'm going to apply the classes, okay? Before I apply the classes, I wanna look at this little toggle right here. Do I wanna sync the labels? Which means, do I wanna take these names and drop them into the structure panel the way that you see them here? And yes, I do wanna do that. This show labels right here just shows you after you name them what each item still is physically. Like it still tells me media wrapper, media, all of that. I'm gonna hit apply, okay? You see service card, media wrapper, body wrapper, inside is media, inside is a heading, and inside is a description. And they all have the classes, service card heading, service card body wrapper, service card media. It's just all done, right? Now I can begin styling. So if I went to my media, I activate my class, and I come down and just say, I want this to be a square, or I want this to be 6x4, something like that. And then I can say object fit cover, okay? Good, so we solved that problem. Now I just start styling up my card. Like all of my classes already done, like it's that easy. It's that fast, it's that easy. Now, check this out. If I do this again, right? So I just BIMified this whole element, and it organized my structure panel for me. We're all good. But what if I click it again? What's gonna happen? Well, this time you're gonna notice that everything is blue, right? And there's a little mode switch, because what it's done is it has identified, hey, this already has BIM classes. So we're gonna have to make a decision now. What do you wanna do? That's what this mode does. It allows you to make your own decision, okay? So let's look at our options. I can rename all the classes. So if I was like, hey, I screwed up that name. Maybe I had a typo in the block, right? I named it service ca instead of service card. I can just go rename them all, right? So this will just literally rename them. Now, unfortunately, this is not a problem, or this is not a feature in Oxygen, because Oxygen does not support the renaming of classes. But in Bricks, you can rename the classes. Okay, what else can I do? I can just say, hey, I wanna create new classes and I wanna remove these old ones. All right, so that's an option. Now, when I click that, it's gonna say, hey, by the way, when you do that, do you want us to copy the styles from the current classes onto the new classes, or do you not want us to do that? You get to choose. No, I don't want you to copy this. I want blank classes. I want new classes that I can style from scratch. Or, yes, I actually would like you to copy the styles over when you make this change. So that's an option for you. That's removing. What does remove do? Remove just takes them off of the element. They're still in the database, They still exist. All styles are still attached to them. They just get removed from the element that you're working on, okay? And the new ones will take their place. Now there's a situation, create new and delete old. Frames users, pay attention to this one. This is probably the one you really, really, really want. We'll take a look at it in just a second. But what this will do is it'll create your new classes according to all the names that you see here. It'll delete the old classes and it'll move any styles to the new classes. Of course, you can say don't move styles, don't copy the styles, but most people I think are gonna wanna copy the styles, right? So that's on by default. So it'll copy the styles from the old classes to the new ones and it'll physically delete, like out of the database, gone forever from bricks. So for frames users, what frames users know is when I import a frame, comes with all the standard classes. If I just rename them, that's not good enough. Because when I import that frame again, I don't get a clean version of that frame. I get the version I already styled, even though I renamed the classes. Because in bricks, all styles are really assigned to a class ID. Okay, that's what allows you to do renaming of classes in bricks without losing your styling. So deleting the old classes is what we need to do. And frames users know the pain of going, they like, do I have any FR? Yeah. So if I wanted to delete the classes for hero Juliet, I got to search for Juliet and then go manually delete, delete, delete. And you got to confirm on each step, like delete, you sure? Yes. Here, delete, you sure? Yes. And just manual and bigger frames, man, there's a lot of classes, right? Now, one click and just say, create new, delete old. It gets rid of the old frames. So when you import that frame again, you get a clean version of that frame, but you also have custom classes applied to any other instance of that frame that you get to keep. So that's really, really nice. There's one more. It's create new and keep old. If for whatever reason you wanted multiple BEM classes on a group of elements, you can do that here. One last thing to show you. If you want to exclude anything, let's say I wanted to rename classes, but I was like, nah, it's just these two down or these three down here that I messed up on, that I want to rename. Well, you can just say exclude these two from any changes occurring by hitting the little X there, okay? So if I hover, you'll see a little X, it goes dark. That means that one is not going to be affected. Now, if I want to turn it back on, it's a plus sign. I just hit the plus sign, it turns it back on. Now that's going to be affected. All right, so I can just say, hey, these two are the only ones I want to affect right here. Apply, it'll go ahead and rename just those two classes down there. All right, let's see. AutoBEM brings ACSS to a whole new level. I guess it's a preview of 3.0. Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot coming in 3.0. AutoBEM is a game changer for consistency and maintainability. Absolutely. Okay, so let's look at how this influences frames users. So let's bring in a frame that I have not imported on this website. Let's just go hunt. Let's go on the hunt. Which one can we bring in? Let's see here. I don't want it to be too extensive. Okay, this one would be good to show because there is a little bit, there's a little bit, let's do this, backgrounds, how about we do white? There we go, that looks pretty good. Okay, you wanna understand the behavior because at first it seems like it's a little unintuitive, but then it's like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense why that would happen, okay? There's a gazillion of these testimonial card lemmas that just came in. All right, not quite a gazillion, but there's a lot of them. So I'm gonna hit this and we're gonna see, and this is actually, you know, there's just one little element inside the call out, okay? So I want this to be a testimonial card that is unique to this particular website. I don't want it to be FR testimonial card lemma. I already explained that I cannot go up here and rename this, okay? So let's just show you, renaming the class. So FR testimonial card lemma, let's say we wanted to name it testimonial card minimal or something like, because it's a minimal testimonial card. Minimal, is that how you spell it? Okay, FR testimonial card minimal. So I just renamed them, right? And they're all now testimonial card minimal, great. Now I gotta go in here and I gotta rename this one too. So this would be testimonial card minimal call out. Okay, this would be the old way of doing things, right? So I just renamed that. All right, so now, and then let's throw a background color on here. So, oh, and I gotta do it here probably in the section too. So this would just be like testimonial section or something like that. All right, so I renamed the class. And let's go in and throw a background color in here. Let's do our base light. So it's not quite base ultralight, it's just base light. All right, let's view this on the front end. Okay, perfect. We're seeing our alternate color scheme because that's what I prefer. Let's go turn that off. All right, good. And actually, I'm gonna take all color scheme out of here for a minute so that we're just focusing on one feature at a time. All right, off, save, excellent. Okay, refresh. This is still swap, oh, my neutral. Neutral, neutral, neutral. Do not swap the neutral palette. Save. All right, fantastic. Now, let's look at what happens. What was this called? Testimonial section Lima. I renamed the classes, right? Get rid of it. Save. Let's pretend we're on another page now, just a brand new page. And I'm like, hey, I want to bring in a new copy of testimonial section Lima. All right, so here's testimonial section Lima. I'm thinking I'm bringing in a new copy because I renamed all those classes. Remember, I renamed them all. It's different now. And I insert, oh, what's that? The exact same copy because, again, Bricks does not assign styles to the name of the class. The name of the class is inconsequential. There's a hidden ID behind every class in Bricks. That's what the styles get assigned to. That's what allows you to rename classes without losing your styles. So this has always been like a challenge for Frames users who love to rename the classes. What they had to do is delete all the classes, first copy the styles to new classes, then delete all the old classes. That was a horrible workflow, right? In fact, I'll show it to you right now in this very simple one. So testimonial section, I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. And then I'm gonna click this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete this one. Okay, let's get them out of the system. Let's click on this, get it out of the system. And after I delete these classes, then I should be able to actually re-import the frame, okay? So let's go ahead and save. Let's refresh the builder. Now I should get a fresh copy. So let's go to Lima. There it is. And now you see I get a fresh copy of the frame. So now let's look at the different approach here. You can come in here. It's got to be on every block. So testimonial card Lima is a different block. Grid is a block. Section is a block. Okay, so I'm going to do the card first. So I've got FR testimonial card Lima. I'm going to go ahead and hit BIM on this. It's going to identify, hey, there's existing BIM classes on here. What are we going to do? So we're going to say create new. We're going to delete old. What do you want the new block name to be? We'll say minimal testimonial. Just something different, okay? Minimal testimonial. It's gonna rename this element to minimal testimonial callout. And then I do wanna sync the labels so the labels don't say testimonial card Lima anymore. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply classes. It'll ask you to confirm, hey, are you sure you wanna delete all the old classes everywhere? And we kinda need to talk about this. This is not something you should do in the middle of a build when you've used this frame everywhere. When you import a frame for the very first time, this is something you want to do right then and there, okay? Because you are going to be deleting old classes, all right? And if you've styled them, even though we're going to new ones, you're going to see what's going to happen here, okay? Notice that this one worked great. Minimal testimonial call out. All of the other ones are broken. Why? Because their classes got deleted, okay? This feature is not magic. It can't like, let's go find every element on the website that had those classes and put these new ones on there and in the same places and all that stuff. It doesn't work like that, okay? You just delete all these. By the way, this would be generated by a query loop anyway, so it shouldn't matter. But now I take my minimal testimonial and I just duplicate that out however many times I need it, okay? And now I've got my minimal testimonial all over the place and I'm free to style this. So I go in, let's go background color, and I go white, and it's gonna change them all to white. I can do whatever I want to from here, okay? But when you delete classes that were on all these elements, they will go away from all of those elements, okay? And you can't magically just put new ones in their place. So like I said, when you import a frame, you wanna do it right then and there. Get this frame the way you want with BIM, and you're good to go. Now, FR testimonial section Lima doesn't really have any children. It has a block as its child. So this one I could just rename, or I could create a new class for it, copy the style over, okay? Whatever you want to do. You can still use the auto BIM feature here. You're just going to have to turn off a bunch of this stuff so that it doesn't create changes where you don't want it to create changes. It's a little bit of there's a little practice involved, like practice doing this, okay? But it gives you tremendous power that you did not have before, especially when it comes to, I just want to create new classes and remove the old ones, or I even want to keep the old ones. Maybe I want to keep those around for whatever reason. It's completely up to you, completely granular. All right, so that's kind of an overview of Auto BIM. Questions on Auto BIM, ask them now, because we're moving on in just a minute. SK says, if I delete frames classes, another page that is using frames classes will lose the classes too and lose the style, or the whole site will change classes like that. They will, if you delete the existing classes, they will be gone. They will be gone. That's, yes, that is what, yes, you are deleting them, okay? That's why when you import a frame, now is your best time to be like, this is a thing I'm going to use over and over and over again on this site, and I want it to have its own custom naming. I'm going to go ahead and take care of it right now. Just as if you built it from scratch, right? It would be the same workflow if I was building something from scratch, right? So if I came down here to do a section and I started working down here, I'm making the decision right then and there. Am I using BIM classes for this? Yes. So I'm going to make the BIM classes for it, and I'm going to use Auto BIM in that regard. A frame is just a section that's already done. But before you use that frame everywhere, you still need to make the decision. Am I going to auto BIM this with my own custom classes and delete the existing classes? That's a decision you need to make the minute you import that frame. That's the easiest way to go about this. Then no problems will occur. By the way, think about in HTML land, writing HTML, putting classes on things in HTML. You can't go build a site with all these classes on everything and then be like, oh, I'm just going to delete the styling for that class and expect your site to not break. Like, that's what happens. You have to go replace the classes that you've used on all those HTML elements. So it's kind of the exact same workflow. Will you have a dedicated video about Auto BIM and best practices? Yeah, what I'm planning on doing is a homepage build out, where I will show you, all right, I'm going to add this frame, and then I'm going to either auto BIM it or not auto BIM it. I'm going to add this frame, I'm going to auto BIM part of it, I'm going to leave the other part. And I'll just explain kind of the thinking process as I go through. What I will say is you cannot go wrong switching everything over to custom classes, okay? That's never like the wrong option. You might be doing a little bit of over engineering, but you're not going to break anything. Everything is going to be future-proofed. Everything's going to be good to go. So you can't go wrong doing that. But if you want to be as efficient as possible, you don't always need to swap the classes. And my video will kind of, walk through the thinking on that. Okay. And what's great about this, guys, is you use Auto BIM in bricks, right? Let's say you have an old project in Oxygen. You go over to Oxygen. Guess what, guys? Auto BIM is there too. Let's say you have a few projects in Quickly because you've been exploring the Quickly builder. Guess what? Auto BIM's going to be there for you too. So every supported builder has Auto BIM. This is not just a bricks thing. Every builder that we support. Now, Gutenberg can't do it. Gutenberg does not have a class system, okay? But any builder that we support with a class system is going to have Auto BIM, is going to have the color mode, is going to have everything that you like in this builder is going to exist over here in this builder. That's the power of the automatic CSS ecosystem, right? Where, a certain feature with an add-on or something might be available only in bricks, but when you go to Oxygen, guess what? It's not there. When you go to Quickly, guess what? It's not there. But with automatic CSS, guess what? It's everywhere. Okay, that's a huge benefit. Kevin, can you please zoom in when showing the features so we can see what you're doing better? Thanks. I am zoomed in. I mean, my screen is zoomed in. Can't really zoom in much more than that. Without everything getting like cramped and crushed and not looking great. From experience, I recommend renaming all the frames class names every time. Yeah, you can't go wrong, especially now. I mean, I never recommended it before because it was a lot of manual labor, right? Now with AutoBEM, it's not manual labor. You can't go wrong doing it. So yeah, go ahead and do it. That's the safest way to approach. Okay, please make the cheat sheet available. Yeah, we are, trust me, I don't know, everybody thinks I'm like withholding the cheat sheet from them. I want the cheat sheet to be available as soon as possible. The entire JSON file, okay, which is, guys, there's thousands of utility classes in automatic CSS, right? When you add up all the transparencies and the shades and everything, that whole JSON file had to be organized, refactored, and everything in order for us to release the next feature, which is coming, which is when you turn on Pro Mode, classes that are deactivated in Pro Mode will no longer show up here. The only way to do that, and by the way, contextual panels, to make this work even better, the only way to do all that is to have a really awesome JSON file. And the only way to have a cheat sheet that's always automatically updated in real time, 24/7, never has a discrepancy, is to have a really awesome JSON file. That all had to be refactored. And it takes time. It's a tremendous project just to do the refactoring of the JSON. That's what's gonna power the cheat sheet. So as soon as that's done, the cheat sheet will be back. It's not magic. I can't wave a magic wand, okay? A lot of stuff depends on that JSON file refactoring. And so as soon as it gets here, you will have it. I'm not withholding it from you. I'm not punishing you, okay? I don't dislike you. I just cannot give you the cheat sheet until the JSON is refactored. It's a physical impossibility. Okay, Kevin, please stop withholding the cheat sheet and also save the world. Thanks. Yes. All right, so today I'm gonna explore Quickly for the first time. Quickly team, you can thank Kevin. Yeah, I would recommend it. If you want a Gutenberg-based builder, I honestly feel that Quickly is the #1 builder for Gutenberg. Okay, we gotta look at other shit. We cannot stick on these 2 features forever. Go back to the change log. We can rattle through, not all of these are gonna take 30 minutes. We can rattle through some of these. So I already showed you granular feature deprecation. You can go to the new deprecated tab. Every feature that's deprecated can now individually be toggled on and off. Everybody should love that. Listen, there's no unanimous decisions on the internet. I mean, we could take something like this where it's like 9.9 out of 10 people agree. That's just great. That's fantastic. There's still gonna be that one person who's like, why did you do the feature granular? I don't get it. I don't get it. It should be a 100% approval rate, but somebody's gonna complain about it. But granular feature deprecation is now possible. We have the neutral color palette, which I already showed you, okay? Completely refactored buttons. This is a good one. This is a good one. You would have to inspect the DOM to know anything happened here, but actually a lot of things did happen. So let's go delete all of this and let's just bring in a button. Okay, button action. Okay, save, back to the front end, inspect. Okay, so if we inspect this, and I will bring this to the other side, there we go. And let's bring this up here. So what you're gonna find is that, well, if you read right here in the change log, okay, we have reduced the output for buttons by 73.5%. Like, massive. I refactored all how buttons work, all right? Which was a large project in and of itself. But the code output was reduced by 73.5%. So the buttons aspect of ACSS is far lighter than it's ever been. Every button property now uses locally scoped variables, allowing unprecedented granular style and theming capabilities, okay? New option for setting the default focus color of buttons. So I'm gonna go over to the buttons panel here. And we're gonna go down to the action button as an example. And what you're gonna see here is this new little focus color input. And I'll explain why this was. If you have an action colored button, by default, the focus color of your website is action color. And so when you focus on the button, you can't really tell you're focusing on the button. So I'll put a external URL in here, unless you have the outline version of the focus style. All right, so I'm gonna tab to this. You can see, and even if that was action, right? Let's go to focus style, focus color, action, save. All right, let's go. This was the problem before. All right, so with the outline focus style, no problem, right? Because it's an outline and it has an offset and you're good to go. But check this out. So if I go up to additional styling and under accessibility, I say, yeah, I prefer shadow focus styles. I don't like that chumpy looking outline. It's fine, whatever you like. I don't like the outline style. I like a shadow style. Okay, let's save changes. Now let's go back to the front end. And we focus on the button A. That's a problem. It is being focused on. You can actually see it get a little bigger, but it's the same color. It's the same color. That's kind of a problem. So now under buttons and links, when you go down to your action button, by default, the focus color for buttons is always the dark shade of the color of the button, okay? Now you can change this, okay? But by default, it's just gotta be different than the color of the button. So we go down to primary as an example, you see it's primary dark. Even though the button is primary, the focus color is primary dark, just so there's a difference, You can make it whatever you want. Your little heart's content, whatever you wanna do, you can do, right? But now when I focus, look at this, this is the solution, right? Clearly there's a distinction between the focus color and the button color. That's what that fix is for. But again, you could even come in here and say black, right? Save. And then I go to the front end and it's gonna be hopefully black. If I come in, now here's what would not happen. Color scheme would not be supported. var black gets you to a better place, okay? So focus color, all right, and that's my primary. Let's take that and come up to action. Action button, standard, focus color, black, save. Let's refresh. Bam, there's a black focus style, all right? This would respond to color scheme. I just wanna make this clear because I know I'm gonna get 1,000 tickets. I put in black, I put in white, I put in FFF, I put in 000, color scheme's not working. Look, I'm gonna put in 000, save. I'm gonna go to the front end, refresh, it's black, but color scheme will not pick that up. Color scheme will do nothing with that. Black will stay black, okay? Unless you use var black, right? Var black, now your color scheme is supported. Same thing with white. People are gonna do this. They're gonna say, oh, I wanted a white focus style, so I put in FFF. All right, we're gonna refresh. You can't really see it, but it's got a white focus style because it's super freaking light. But if I do white, like this, var white, now color scheme is supported, okay? When I flip my neutral palette. So it's still gonna have a white here. Let's do a different background color here. Let's do BG base, save, refresh. Now you can see the white focus color. That will apply to color scheme now. The FFF, no, will not apply. But the var white, yes, will apply. So don't make that mistake. Don't be using raw values everywhere and then expecting color scheme to do its thing. It's not gonna do it. Okay, oh, yes, theming, okay. Let's take off this BG base. Check this out. So I was gonna show you the DOM because it's very, very, very important. What if there was like an entire landing page? Just put yourself in we got an entire landing page and there's 20 buttons on this landing page and they're all action buttons, okay? But on this landing page, we're theming it a little bit differently. We're theming it a little bit differently on this action page. Look in here at all these variables. The fact that this outputs a variable for everything means that you can actually change the values on the fly, either on an individual button element or at the page level, right? So you could even go in this playground to page settings and you could go to custom code and right here you could define new variables. Like you could say the body of this page, I'm gonna define a different button color or something like that. So you can come in and see right here, it's button background is the variable being used, button background. So if I did button background, okay, and then I define a new variable here, okay, and let's see, it's probably not gonna work because we're on a live stream. I can override that variable right there. Let me see if I don't even know if I'm doing, I never use this section of bricks. Body, can you do root here? This add scripts right before the closing head tag, after the opening body tag. I don't even know if you have to put a selector in here. Let's try something else. Let's do body alt test, something like this. Custom code. I think you should be able to do it like this. Alt test, okay, button background. does it do anything? Let's see if this section does anything. First, let's see if it gives a body class. Body class, alt test. Okay, body class is on there. Alt test, how do we do this? Alt test, button action. Can I do anything to this? Okay, background color red. Let's do background red. This section of bricks ain't doing jack shit. What do we do here? Header, head. No, I'm in the body. No, that would be the wrong place. Header scripts. Does anybody use this section of bricks? It is putting the body class on here, but it's not applying the styles properly. Regardless of what I do. Even if I'm doing nothing. Isn't that area for script? No, it's for, I've put CSS in here before. I just don't do it often. I just don't know how it, I just don't know where it puts it in the style sheet or how it puts it in the style sheet. But I know you could do it here. Let's just do it on this section and see. So if I'm targeting this section, it's not doing it here either. Root, button action. At this point, I just want anything to happen. There we go. Root button action. Okay. There we go. Okay. There we go. I don't know if that's the same up here. It should behave exactly the same up here. Root, custom code. Oh. That's why. I was clicking too fast. So if you click, not theme styles, if you click page settings, custom code, I was immediately going for that box right there. It's this box up here, unless I was doing that before. But see, now it's, but now I don't know what this root selector does. But now we have button actions. You can basically target your button action class and you can change whatever you want, okay? So, man, that was, I don't know, brain fart. I don't know what I was doing. Let's refresh. Now we're gonna get it works in the builder, but doesn't work everywhere else. All right, we're gonna not do that on a live stream. We're gonna figure this out. It's really, I did it in WP Codebox and it worked just fine. So we're gonna figure out what's going on with Brixie here in this particular section. But the idea is everything that's there that is a locally scoped variable can be altered on the fly with a body class or a code block or whatever you want to do. You could completely just change your button, everything about your buttons on a page by page basis, on a section by section basis, using these locally scoped variables. Okay, it'll work the same way locally scoped variables work everywhere else, except when Bricks is shitting on itself. Okay, all right. I don't think you have to use the style tag. That's the thing. I've used it before. Yeah, somebody said use a style tag, but you don't have to. Pretty sure you don't have to, but I'm not gonna keep messing with it. So I will do a video on it. Once I get it dialed in, I'll do a complete, like, here's how exactly to do it in Bricks and WP Codebox and a child theme, because you can do it in any, really, you should be able to do it anywhere without an issue. Okay. Will it possible to change colors or variables inside the ACSS admin panel by right click in version 3 as well as in the Bricks panel? Hold on. Whoa. Is it possible to change colors or variables inside the ACSS admin panel by right click? Oh, you mean like this, the context panel things? Like do this? Oh, that's, let's get rid of that class. Okay. Like this in the admin panel, as well as the Bricks panel on the front end? There's no Bricks panel on the front end, first of all. You're gonna have to clarify your question. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. All right. In automatic CSS site, if you go via keyboard navigation and menu burger icon, hit spacebar, then escape button, then again a spacebar of the burger, toggle, the menu links vanish. Yeah, if you do it like bam bam, it might, because you're not giving time for the animations to reset. Most likely is what's going on there. I know your commitment to only ship code that is guaranteed to work, but how about maybe perhaps shipping frames for quickly in a DIY, no warranties, as is bleeding edge early adopter version? Is this what begging looks like? Here's the thing, guys, frames. I don't think, I rarely use this term, but I think it fits here. Frames is an assload of work, okay? Like hundreds of hours of work. And so if somebody's like, hey, there is no minimal version of frames. Like, I mean, what would that look like? Like there's 3 frames to choose from? That doesn't really do you any good, right? The power of frames comes in the size of the library. To get the library to the size it is hundreds of hours of work. So when someone says, can we get frames for quickly, or can we get frames for oxygen? In my mind, it's just like, oh God, what are they asking for? Oh, that's so painful. That just feels so painful. So the decision gets made on I'm just being honest with you, how many people are gonna buy frames for that thing. By the way, I already committed to, like, everybody that bought frames just gets it for the next builder. So if we make it for quickly, everybody that bought it for bricks gets it for quickly. If we make it for oxygen, everybody that bought it for bricks, they just get it for oxygen. They're not buying it again. So I can't sell it to those people again. So who can I sell it to? Only people in that new builder community who've never bought it in the past. And so then the question becomes, well, what is the size? Guys, I'm just being honest with you. What is the size of that community? Well, they're relatively small. I mean, Oxygen's third-party community is gone. It's it's basically crickets. And I've told you this before. Crickets don't have a lot of money, all right? They just don't. Crickets are poor. As Big L says, they're po. They can't even afford the OR, okay? So we gotta, that's gotta be, the math doesn't math at some point. Quickly is growing, and I love to see it. And when Quickly gets to a certain point, we're gonna start putting feelers out. We're gonna say, hey, and by the way, Quickly users don't even use automatic CSS right now. Like, this is a new thing for them. Automatic CSS is a new thing for them. So we're gonna give it a little bit of time, and then I'll start putting feelers out and be like, hey, how many people in this Quickly community can we possibly get using frames? And if the numbers make sense for the hundreds of hours of work that it's gonna require, then we will do it. It's just an economics decision, really. It's all it is. Okay, I think he means, can the context menu be used for ACSS settings? Perhaps in the new dashboard on the front end. Just wait for the new dashboard. It's gonna be a completely different experience. You'll just be like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay, thank you. That's all that will be. You won't need any, context menus won't, Context menus still be in the builder, but for ACSS dashboard, you won't need them. Okay, thank you, video music stream. We appreciate it. I mean, inside the admin, yeah, okay, so he's clarifying. All right, let's go back to changelog here. Header height support, these are very fast. Header height support for XL excess breakpoints, scroll offset support for XL excess breakpoints. So before, if you go to additional styling, header heights right here, notice there's your main header height. That's like your main desktop website, right? L breakpoint, you can set a header height. M, you can set a header height. S, you can set a header height. These are used for various purposes. One of the main uses is for offsetting page content automatically when you have a sticky header, right, inside of your first section. But here's the problem, right? You go to viewport and you're like, hey, you know what? I want an XXL breakpoint on this site, and I want an XS breakpoint on this website. I'm gonna go save changes, and then I'm gonna go back to my header heights area, okay? And in here, now you see, hey, there's support for those new breakpoints. Before, there was not. And so that was a problem. You kind of had to do a bunch of manual stuff to get all the offsets to continue working and all that jazz. Now there's just native support for the new breakpoints. And you're gonna see the same native support inside of scroll offsets as well. So you can set a scroll offset for that new breakpoint and a scroll offset for your new breakpoints here. So all of your scrolling, automatic scrolling offsets, all of your header height offsets, whatever you were using those for, now support the 2 additional breakpoints. Okay, so that's a pretty easy, fast one. Radius classes replace rounded, that's easy. List spacing variables. So this is for the automatic list spacing. So if we go to typography and we come down to typography spacing, you can set list spacing and list item spacing in here. This is another feature I would highly recommend you read the documentation on, because everybody is confused by it when they don't read the documentation. But if I put a rich text element or a blog post or blog post template, something like that, where you have text and headings and lists and all this stuff inside a singular element, right? So let's go with a heading here. We'll go with a heading 2. This is my heading. And then we'll come down here. Let's go to website Ipsum real quick. Let's just grab this, drop that in. And then let's say there is a list involved here. In fact, there is one right here. And we'll drop this in. Hopefully it doesn't come with any, yeah, good. All right, it comes with normal styling. And we'll just paste this below the list like this. Okay, save, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh. So this is basically what this looks like. Let's go in, save. Okay, bam. Without smart spacing in automatic CSS, this is what you get. So you get a heading that's touching your text. You get list items that aren't really spaced out. And then paragraphs that use a default spacing value of whatever Bricks decided it should be, right? Not much control, not much greatness going on. But if you come in here and you turn on smart spacing and automatic CSS, mind you, this only affects specific areas of your website. This is what you get. And so you get this heading that's spaced out. You get a spacing value that you actually have control of. See, I have control of the heading spacing. I have control of the paragraph spacing, and I have control of the list spacing and the list item spacing. Let's do 2M on something like this and hit save. Okay. See how the list items, not the list itself, not like the list container, nothing changed there, but the list items just got spaced out a whole lot, right? Now, if I do list spacing, that's like your container spacing. I'm just doing egregious values like that you would never do, but it's just to demonstrate what's going on here. Notice it only adds to the top of things. That creates a nice seamless cascade down the page, okay? But this is just from this is automatically happening, more or less, right? There are times where you want to create your own unique block where you might need to reference whatever this value is, or reference the list item spacing value, or reference the paragraph spacing value. Well, you already have variables for the heading spacing and for the paragraph spacing, but you did not have them for the list spacing and the list item spacing. With this new change, you have 2 new variables. One is list spacing. They're kind of self-explanatory. And one is list item spacing. That references whatever value is set in this dashboard right here. So you always are able, whatever you can do with automatic CSS, you can also do with custom CSS and hook in to the framework using these variables. It's not an often used or needed thing, but when you do need it and you realize you don't have it, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So we added them. That way, no more pains and asses. Okay, let's keep going. New boxed width variable. I don't hardly ever do a boxed width website. A bunch of people asked me for this, so I decided to put it in. But if you turn on boxed layout right here, and you set a boxed width, like 1920 pixels. All right, let's hit save. Let's go see what happens here. See, I have a boxed layout now for my website. A lot of people needed to know what they wanted to be able to reference that width right here, right? Because you can't use 100 VW because 100 VW is the width of the viewport. And you can't use content width because content width is the width of your content, both of which are different from this boxed width. So now you can actually reference the boxed width of your website with a variable uniquely called box width. So again, we try to make these things as so you can, people are like, you have to memorize. No, Not really. You just need to know it exists, and then the boxed width. I mean, I want to reference my boxed width. What could it be? Oh, it's boxed width. I want to reference the width of my content. Well, what could the variable be? Content width. Try to make it as easy as possible. So you really don't, if you just know the intrinsic name of it, you probably also know what the variable is called. Like button background, BTN background. So they just all kind of try to match. Okay, let's go back and do, oh, this one's big. Big. Global link style exclusions, okay? So let's go into buttons and links. This is a big one. So you can set a default link color for all links on your website, right? All links are going to be action colored. When I hover them, they're going to be the action hover color. They're going to be a weight of 400. They're going to be underlined in this case. We're going to inherit the underline on hover so that it retains its underline. We're going to offset the underline by 0.25 em so that it's not like the underline's not right on the text. It's offset a little bit. It looks a little bit nicer, okay? Then I hit save changes and I go put in all my links and they all look great. But then I do my header. And I'm doing my header and I'm doing my navigation, and my navigation's trying to inherit all of these styles right here. And it's kind of getting in the way. Or maybe I'm doing my footer and my footer's trying to inherit these link styles, and it's kind of getting in the way because in my header and in my footer, I want links that look different. Just a common scenario, right? So you can come in and say, all right, we're gonna add some default link exclusions. And all I have to do, and it shows you right there, okay, if I zoom in a little bit, gives you an example. Hey, write header A, and then hit save changes. Guess what? Now all of the links in my header will not try to adopt these styles right here. They'll just be naked, and you can do whatever you want with them. And then if I want, I also want to exclude the ones in my footer. Okay, comma, footer A. Save changes. Now guess what? All the links in your footer will no longer try to inherit these styles. You can just style them from scratch. So this default link style exclusions area, very handy. Very handy. Somebody asked for that. I decided, hey, well, yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Let's go ahead and do it. So we did it. Okay. And new variable for link underline offset. So again, that right here, link underline offset was kind of a new thing that you can add. If you're creating a custom link, like I can go create a custom link right here. Let's get rid of this. Let's bring this in, text link. Okay. And let's give this a URL. Look how it inherits my styles, right? Now, if I was creating, I don't know, it's hard to think on the fly of like what scenario would I need to do this in. I was doing it with text, like my, that's what it was, like an accent heading. Okay, so let's say you're gonna do like my accent heading. And obviously this is not gonna be a link, right? It might even be a paragraph, we don't know. Accent heading. And then I go to style and I go to like typography and I'm like, hey, let's make it uppercase and 0.25 em, space it out. And I do want it to be underlined. I do want it to be underlined, right? Well, we're already using an underline style in our links. Let's throw a link down here so that we can see one. I just put it in. So let's go link. And let's make sure it is an actual link. Okay, there you go. So it looks kind of odd, doesn't it, that my links have this offset, but my accent heading has no offset. To me, that looks very odd. It's like, that's not consistent. And so I need an offset on my accent headings to match this, right? Even though this isn't a link, it doesn't look like a link, right? But I wanted an underlined style. I just want the offset to match. So the changelog says if we use link underline offset, then we will get it to match. So I go in here, again, my accent heading, typography. Now, unfortunately in bricks, there's no input for this. They need to get with the times, don't they? I think it's called text underline offset is the property. Let's say 1em, there it goes. So there's 1em. So again, I just need to use link underline offset. So let's go var. Actually, I don't even need to write the var. Let's just go link underline offset. Bam. Now I save, I refresh, and it matches my links. So I don't have like this odd looking, and I don't have to choose a random value. I don't have to be like, oh, well, I don't have to go reference it. Like, what was it? Oh, 0.25 em. Even if I did, even if I looked 0.25 em and put that in, it would match, right? Watch this, 0.25 em, it would match. it would match. And people would be like, well, that's cool. You can just get it to match manually. You don't need that variable. Actually, you do, my friend, need that variable. What if I change the offset to 0.5em? Save. Then I go refresh. It changed it on the link. It did not change on the heading. Why? Because that's using a static value. Are static values good? No, static values are not good. Link underline offset. Okay? And let's save. Let's refresh. Bam. Now they're both the same. They're both always the same. If I set this back to 0.25em and save, and I go back to my front end, both of them adjust accordingly. It just creates consistency, right? It gives you these little handy variables. Auto BEM, the panel text is too small, tiny at 12 pixel font, way too small, using 32-inch Apple Studio display. Yeah, we can make it a little bit bigger. We'll probably end up using, well, let's go see. See, to me, it's fine. To some people, it's not going to be fine. The thing is if we make it bigger, here's what the complaint is going to be. I'll just tell you this right now. It takes up too much space, because when you have like a big, long section with a lot of things, I mean, there's going to be more things in this list, and people are just going to complain that the panel's too big, the text is too big, it takes up too much. It's an unwinnable situation, right? I think we can bump it up a little bit, 13 pixel, 14 pixel, something like that. But we can't go crazy with it, because then people are going to complain that it takes up too much space. So we're going to try, we'll try to find something that kind of works for everybody. Okay, what else do we do? We deprecated text larger, quit using that, read about it. There's 5 different threads in the automatic CSS community about it. We removed the 1 pixel offset from all breakpoints. That was an Oxygen nonsense thing. That's no longer around. Refactored all the spacing, dropped a bunch of code, refactored the overlay classes, dropped the, again, technical term here, I believe, is ass load. Dropped an ass load of code on the refactored overlay classes. Refactored all text classes. Dropped a bunch of code. The accessibility refactoring was just some back-end stuff that I needed. Focus parent no longer requires a modifier. I'm not going to go into all that. I'll show you on a focus parent tutorial. But you used to have to write focus parent _outline or focus parent _shadow. Now you just write focus parent and move on with your life. And it will auto detect your preference. It'll go into this area right here under additional styling right here. And if it's shadow, it'll apply shadow. If it's outline, it'll apply outline. You don't need to use the modifier class anymore. So it's just easier for you, faster for you, more intuitive for you. Focus color utilities now work with focus parent. So if you want to change the focus color of your focus parent item, you can just use one of the focus utility classes like focus _ whatever color you want. Everything else is very minor stuff, okay? Open questions, we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes, open questions, if anybody has anything. We still have 142 people here, which is insane. We need another chill session of working with Kevin with good music. I have not done any client work since your last session. Just kidding. You have, because I saw that pretty badass website that you sneak peeked. I don't know if you put a link to it or just a screenshot, but it was looking very, very, very good. But yes, I'm actually probably going to do that. I might do one today. I might sneak one in today. Probably not tomorrow. I might sneak one in today. Because you know what I have to do? I'm going to start, and this is a little teaser for everybody, I'm going to start construction on our brand new UI style guide for ACSS. And that's kind of a project where it's like, let me put on some music and let me just work. All right. So inner circle, if you're not in the inner circle, we do work, co-working with Kevin. It's, I just get on live and I play music and we all do work together. You don't even have to watch. I mean, you could just kind of be there. Some people like to watch, obviously. They like to just watch like my process and work and all that. But you don't have to. A lot of people get on and they just let the music play and they do their own work. And then I come to the chat every now and then and we chat and people ask questions and I can do some Q&A and stuff like that. It's fun. It's chill. It's chill. That's what it's for. It's just, let's chill and let's get some work done. So that may happen today. I need to go get some lunch. I made the mistake of not eating anything before it's like 3 p.m. I haven't eaten anything today. I don't see link underline offset in the ACSS dashboard. It is right under buttons and links underline offset right there. Right there. Oh, Well, here's the thing. If you have this decoration set to none, right, then you don't have a link decoration. So you can't have an offset. So just keep in mind, like if, right, it's only, see, it appears when you switch it from none to something that does support offset, right? There's no point in setting it if you're not going to use it. So ACSS just removes it. Wow, the auto BIM is a game changer. Yes, it absolutely is. Does the exclusions work with IDs and classes? Yes. And anything that's valid CSS will work. Repeatedly practice to the point of becoming second nature. Practice, practice, practice leads to perfection. Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you watch me, build a site, everything is second nature. It's just like you fly through development. Why is it best practice to rename the frames after import each time? Does that defeat the purpose of them staying connected when editing one? No. It preserves the original unstyled version of the frame. Because what you're going to do is you're going to import the frame. You're going to rename all the classes. You're not renaming them. Sorry. You're creating new and deleting old. That's the feature you're going to use. Create new and delete old. Now that the old classes are deleted, the default version of that frame is preserved forever now. Okay. Like you import it again later, it's going to import a default version. And that's what most people wanted the behavior to be. Let me just show you. Let me show you something real quick. Okay. Here's the workflow that I would do. I know I'm going to do a dedicated video, but I just want to, just so that, we're all here. Here we all are, right? So if I insert hero, well, I already styled that one on this website. Let's go to, what would be a good one? I want maybe something with feature cards. Let's just do feature section like Delta. Okay, this would probably be a good one. Feature section Delta. So here's feature card Delta, right? And you can see like there's a lot of crap going on here. It's a grid, it's all this other stuff, right? Okay, I don't want to rename. I want to BIM, and I want to take a look at what's going on here. So it identified that there's already BIM classes existing. So I create new and I delete old. And I'm going to call this like wide feature card or something like that. And the video that I'm going to do dedicated is going to have to talk about naming strategies, right? Service card is a pretty good name for like a service card. But a feature card like this, where maybe we want to use this card style for like multiple different purposes, then service card's not a good name, right? Because if you're going to use it for services, but then you're going to also use it over here for blog posts, maybe it's not really a good name. But wide feature card is pretty good because it tells you that this is a wide card format, right? Which is that's good critical information, but it's not so specific that you can only use it for specific things, right? It's kind of generic, but it's custom. So wide feature card might be a good name to go with, and it's going to rename all my stuff down here. And I am deleting the old ones, right? So I apply the classes, delete class everywhere. Yes, okay. Now this feature card just got all the new ones. Wide feature card, click on this, wide feature card accent heading, wide feature card lead. Look at all the other ones, they broke. We talked about this earlier. Why did they break? Because I deleted their classes. They're gone, there they go. So I delete those two instances. And now I can just duplicate. And now I have this component that I'm free to style and use everywhere. And I can use it just like it was, but it's got my own classes on it now. To where if I did something like, let's go background color, right? Background color, white, okay, good. They all turn white, that's fantastic. You see them all white, great. And if I imported the old version of the frame, it would import it without the white style. It would import it with the old classes and the old default styles. And so I can import that anytime again that I want to. So the question really now is, where should I put this one, right? Because what if I want to go to a different page and use this one right here? How do we do that? Well, turns out Bricks makes this super easy. So what you do is you take feature card Delta and you right click it and you go save as template. And you save it to your local library, right? So you can say wide feature card. And I just say template type is a section. Don't worry about that. They all have to be called section because bricks is, nah, they didn't think that one through. And then I'm gonna hit save as template. You can even bundle them if you want. This will organize it into little groups. But look, I hit save as template and it puts it right there, wide in my templates. See, remote templates is frames. My templates is my templates. Remember, I removed all the frames classes and I added my own custom classes to this. Now I get to keep it in my own templates area. So when I go to a different page on the website, let's go to pages. Let's go to add new, test page, create page. Okay, there it is right there. Let's switch over to it. Now I go to templates. I don't go to remote templates and try to find that template again. It's right here in my templates, wide feature card, see? And if I wrap it in a container, right, then it'll be in a grid. And if I wrap that in a section, then it'll be in a section. And I'm just using that card now from my local library. That's the workflow I would recommend. So once you've deleted all the old frames classes and added your own custom classes using AutoBIM, save that thing to your own local library. And that's the easiest way to, use that on multiple pages of the website. But then if you ever want to use the original version of the frame, that's when you go back to the remote template library and go grab it from the remote template library. You'll import a nice clean version. Then you can do the AutoBIM rename all over again to something completely different if you wanted to. And this allows you to use the same frame multiple times in different ways throughout a website without any confusion, without any conflict classes, nothing, no junk in the database. Everything is nice and clean, works just fine. Those cards were alternating, now they're not. Probably because it relied on, we can go back to that page. Probably because it relied on their, we can go look. First of all, let's turn off this stupid boxed layout style. Let's go turn that off, save, okay. Pages, playground, I think it was the playground page, was that it? So just open the grid, feature grid delta, and go to the CSS and see what it was targeting. See, this is why the root thing was so critical, right? It's referencing a static class name. So you have to get your new class name, wide feature card, and come in. See, this is why we asked for that new feature in bricks. It's a critical feature, the new dynamic root selector, wide feature card. See, now we're back to alternating, done. So you are gonna want to pay attention to little things like that. We try our best to not use static class names, but some frames required it and we didn't have the dynamic root selector available to us at the time. So they had to, the only thing we could do is reference a static class name. So in a frame like that, you just go swap it with your new custom class name and everything will go back to working again. Tyree says, my new website is box. I actually don't mind a box layout style. I didn't like that default one because I didn't customize it. So it just looked awful. Yes. Okay. I'm just looking for questions here. Can you make the labels, sync labels on by default? Hold on. Let me see. Let's see what the behavior is. Section. Okay. Let's just do this. It is on by default, see? I think when there's existing classes, it might not be. Let's do this, feature card delta. Okay, BIM. Yeah, so when existing classes are detected, it's not on by default. But when you're just doing it from scratch, it is on by default. So yeah. I don't know. You guys give feedback. Like, it's not a set in stone thing for AutoBIM. I have not used it extensively, obviously, because it just now exists. I've only used it in the alpha stages, and in alpha, I'm not using it on like my real websites or anything like that. So if you guys give feedback that's like, no, like we always want it to be on to change the structure panel, then we'll make it on as the default. Just give me the feedback. We got to see what people say and how they end up using it and just what scenarios they run into. Auto BIM, the BIM panel could take up the entire screen. It's only there for a moment to BIMify the classes. I'm not referring to the actual word BIM in the structure panel. Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It can be, the text can be bigger. It's an easy adjustment that we can make, thankfully. How amped are you for the bricks components update? I am crazy amped for the idea of it. As always, I have to wait to see what the execution looks like, right? It could be an amazing, fantastic thing. They could find a way to do it better than Quickly did it. I think that's possible. They could make it as easy and as powerful as Quickly. Or it could be a trash can. And so I love the idea of it. I'm amped that it's on the roadmap, but it's a situation where we have to wait for the execution. If I'm being honest, the mega menu builder thing that they created, that was a little bit of a letdown. So I just hope that I hope that the components thing is not a letdown as well. It is what it is. Okay, Christoph's here and he says, AutoBIM actually detects if all labels are synced and sets it to on or off accordingly. Okay. Oh, yeah. So if I think what he's saying here. So this is wide feature card and the structure panel does not match, right? So if I click BIM, it's not going to try to sync the labels. But if they did match, it would automatically keep the labels synced. I think that's what he's saying. So if the labels are already synced, it'll try to keep them synced by default. If they're not synced, it'll not try to sync them without your permission, basically. We had a sneak peek of ACSS version 3 since the Plaster plugin merge. I don't know what that means. I don't think you have. I don't think anybody's seen version 3. Can almost guarantee nobody's seen version 3. Andre says, I believe the Bricks team can do it. No, they can certainly do it. I do have faith. I'm not thinking that it's going to be a not great implementation. I do have faith. I have faith that it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. But that's aside from the fact that the mega menu builder was a little bit of a letdown. Okay, last questions, and we got to jump off. And guys, don't try to don't be like, oh, I've got to go back and rewatch every little detail. Every feature that's new will have a dedicated video coming for it. So there will be a dedicated color scheme video, a dedicated auto BIM video, a dedicated Quickly video, a dedicated buttons video, that nonsense that we ran into earlier with the buttons overrides. The video will show you how to do it with CodeBox, how to do it with the Bricks builder, how to do it on an element by element basis, how to do it with a child theme. It'll cover every scenario because it is actually a really cool feature, and that just doesn't exist a lot of places. Yeah, everything that warrants an individual video in this changelog will have an individual video coming. Now, I will say this, I'm about to go on a little fall break, so it's not gonna come like this week, but when I get back, I'm gonna start shooting those. And for those of you doing Page Building 101, I know everybody always asks me, there's 3 videos left. When are they? Yes, those are still coming too. The last 3 Page Building 101 videos are coming as well. Okay, Kevin had that. Did these guys actually see V3 already? They can't. It's impossible. It's under lock and key. Let's see. Can you bring awareness about this issue? The Bricks gallery element inserts the images for the gallery as background images. Does it really? I don't think I've ever looked at that. Let's get rid of all this mess. Let's just go insert one real quick. Gallery, image gallery. And then I got to go select some images. Let's select, wait a minute. Hold Command Control to select multiple images. Okay. That should be enough, right? Save. Refresh. Ugh. Wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, Bricks. What you doing, Bricks? What you doing? Interestingly enough, it puts them in a list properly. But then it does something like that. I wonder if that's to support some other feature. Does it let you overlay them or something? Columns, layout, grid. It doesn't look like it. I'm trying to think if there'd be any reason why they did that. And off the top of my head, I cannot think of one. Everything that's here, they could have done with real images. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's kind of unexplainable. Did you already put a request in? That would be my next question. If there's already is there already a feature request related to this or a bug report? It's not a bug. They're going to tell you this is not a bug. They're going to be like, make a feature request. So if there is a feature request that's already been made, I will certainly upvote it and share it. Just let me know. ETA on final version of color schemes. It is final. The color scheme functionality here is that's the final version. I mean, there's going to be more added to it, but you need to start using it. Go ahead and start using it. Perhaps to support image ratios for older browsers. That's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility. But I mean, where are we at now? Like, we're in the 90s easily, right? Yeah. 92%, 93. I don't think we have to worry about that anymore. And it's not really, yeah, I mean, they're not going to see your preferred aspect ratio, but it's not like going to break anything. They would just see the wrong ratios, which is just a visual abnormality. I wouldn't say that that's like a disaster or anything. The fact that you lose lazy load, the fact that you lose alt tags, the fact that you lose the figure element, you lose captions, you lose, well, it does say it adds a caption, but I wonder how it adds it. It definitely doesn't add a caption in a figure. I don't see any captions. I mean, this is not what we're supposed to be looking at right now, but I bet it does not add the caption semantically accurate. I don't know. Yeah, link me to a feature request. Is there a WDD live tomorrow? Yes, there will be a WDD live tomorrow. The Bricks Gallery uses ARIA labels in place of alt text, which is not the intended use of ARIA labels. Oh, oof, oof. Okay. Yeah, that needs some work. Look at this. Let's see. Gallery. What did we use for frames? I bet we used that gallery element. We did. So that's going to have to be fixed. See, what I did here is, see, I don't use it that much. Let's go back to, I'll show you on this homepage. For things like this, we don't use the gallery. This is actually a single media wrapper with a loop on it. And you know what it does? It goes into the media library and it pulls it right out of Happy Files. That whole Hawaii folder that I have as the gallery, I love frames like this. There's many frames like this where it looks like a gallery, but it's literally just a looped media wrapper with a media item inside of it. And it just goes in and it's like, hey, I'll just pull all of these. And I can even set it to random. So every time a new visitor comes, it shows them different images from that specific gallery. So these are all real images with, figure tags and alt tags and lazy loading and all that good stuff. And it's dynamically pulling the images. All right, that's it, guys. I got a jet. I have not eaten anything today. So thank you for spending the time. I'll have dedicated videos for everything coming very, very, very soon. This was just a let's explore and have fun and take a look at everything. I'll be back tomorrow with WDD Live on the Geary.co channel. And that's it for today. Love you guys. Peace.